anguish and the pain and sorrow in my life. I put it through parts.
My man, that's so guilty. What have I become?
Like, and it's always going to be life is a hustle.
Do I really want to be a singer, like a full-time performer?
And suddenly you're in a different country, different culture, like a shock.
A Boodle Fight is, they were invented during the World War II because there was a lack of metal to use for utensils. And it's also, it was easier for the soldiers to eat. Because like in World War II, they needed, they needed metal for guns, they needed metal for battles and everything. So they had a lack of resources for that. And it's also, they didn't have enough time. So they just gathered everybody in the military just to like...
And it became a traditional Filipino culture that we still do up until modern times.
And it's also like a thing of connection, right? A thing of connection, thing of community, like
Communal gathering,
would bring everyone together.
Yeah, if you eat with your hands, with two hands, you're doing it all wrong.
You have to show us how to do it. Like, you need to like push it with your thumb, right?
Exactly.
You put like a portion of rice and then a portion of meat and then you like shove it in your mouth. I'm really bad at it, so I don't want to do a demo.
Well, you use your dominant hand, and then you grab it, like you do this like kind of a scoop, like a scoop, and then you use your thumb to like push it to your mouth. Yeah. Okay, let me do a little.
Hands first.
Of course, you gotta wash your hands first, but.
Do you envision yourself to be where you are right now?
I didn't even think I'd be in Canada like 30 years later. I just wanted to be an artist growing up. It didn't matter where it would have been, but this is great, like, because there's more opportunities, I think, for us to pursue this practice. I feel like it's so competitive back home.
When I moved to Canada, there was a different culture. And so I had to adapt my whole self just to be Canadian, basically.
I guess you were a little younger too, hey? How old were you? Or like elementary?
I was 10.
You were 10, yeah.
But it's also, here's the thing, I pretended to be Chinese.
Or just so you can like kind of blend in. Or
I feel like that, I mean, you talked about like pretending to be something else than other than yourself. I feel like this is a common theme for a lot of immigrants that come in here. Especially, I was reading this book called Brown Skin, White Mind, which is a book that was created in University of Alaska that talks about like, you know, colonial mentality and this sort of idea of being ashamed of who you are, so you try to pretend to be someone else. And I remember vividly in high school when I just moved here, there was this person in my school who was half Filipino, half Chinese. I was asking him, like, are you Filipino? And then there was this white kid who heard our conversation and he was like, don't be asking people if they're Filipino. That's like an insult. Being Filipino is like the lowest of the low. So why don't ask him, like, tell him you're Chinese. And so like that reminded me of like you talking about like you pretending to be Chinese just because you felt like, because at the end of the day, in the Asian community there is colorism, right? And there's that like sort of hierarchy.
You're gonna say jungle Asian and
jungle Asian. Exactly. Exactly.
No.
Being dark-skinned Filipino kind of made me look like I was poor, like I didn't have education, because in the Philippines, like we did have colorism till to this day.
Till to this day. Like celebrities would have their skin whitened and then they'd
like,
be considered.
The amount of likas papaya, like the soap, like to whitening.
Oh my God, I use a lot of that.
I mean, like when we talk about colorism, we have to talk about classism, because those two are like, you know, two and two together. Because like the idea of it, and this started during the Spanish colonial times, right? Like if you're a peasant, you work in the farm. That means you have the sun. And if you're a mestizo, or you're like, you know, biracial, then you don't have to go outside. So you go inside and then you have lighter skin. And so like this comes around if you're poor and like, you know, you're chatting about that. This happens for like, you know, when you tell a person they're inferior for 500 years, they'll start to believe it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think for me, like, everything leads to colonization. Like, if you look at like racism, sexism, ableism, homophobia, it's all because of colonized mentality.
You guys know that like the Philippines is the most colonized country, like Asian country. It was colonized by Spanish, Japanese, Chinese, Americans.
Because it's not like we're a homogenous place, right? It's not like we're just one Filipino. Filipino is a colonized term. Like Filipinos as a term isn't even a thing like since like 100 years ago. Like before, we were separated into different hierarchies, you know, like the Indio, which is like the natives, and then everyone else is the mestizo, or like, you know what I mean, or like a pure-blooded Spaniards.
Before the Spanish colonization, Philippines was not called the Philippines. It's called the island of Maui. And then they just changed it because of King Philip.
That's a historical inaccuracy, just because there isn't one name for the Philippines before they came in there. It's like thousands of kingdoms. So like Maui is like a place in Mindoro, but that was that place only.
To me, mediums follow was filming my episode, going to downtown, taking photos. We took the LRT right. This white guy that I empathize that might have some mental health issues, and then he started yelling at us. I walked from the guard.
It's okay.
I know like mental health is a big issue, but mental health is not an excuse for racism. We are lucky that people were calling and reporting the incident. That's not the first time that happened to me. Like, there's a lot of incidents.
I mean, I get that a lot of people will be like, oh, that person probably has mental health issue and why not? But there is a lot of people with mental health issues that are not racist. You know what I mean? And if we try to like excuse these racist people just because they have mental health issue, that's just like giving them an excuse, right?
Racism is taught.
Exactly.
Systemic.
Let me put it on blast what I've experienced in high school. There's always a division when it comes to the Filipino community. When it comes to the FOBs and the English speakers, they always made fun of us because we didn't know how to speak English that well. Why are we trying to separate each other? We're the same blood, we're the same, we have the same race.
It's elitism, right? Like these people think that they came here 5 years earlier, that somehow they're better than the ones who just got here.
But do you notice that like speaking two languages at once is a talent?
Yeah, no, it's definitely a talent. And I feel bad that I don't know how to speak Tagalog that well. I can understand it fully, but I cannot speak it. And I feel really bad that I won't be able to pass that down to my kids. But I'm hopeful that there's gonna be more like Tagalog speaking learning schools.
Like classes.
Yeah.
When they hear an accent from you, they think that you're uneducated. They think that you're dumb.
Or if they don't hear the accent from you, they wouldn't think that you just got here. They'd be like, "Oh, your English is so good." It's so good. I mean, you know, that's kind of, it can be a little racist.
When did you
to
lose
say
your
that.
accent?
Like, when did you lose your accent? Oh, I left it in the Philippines.
Yeah.
I left my accent. You know.
Yeah.
No, like guess this is how we speak because we started learning English at a very young age because it's part of our education. Just because we did not grow up here doesn't mean we can't speak English.
For a while, as a visual artist, you know what I mean? There was a time where trying to figure out my style. And I felt like being Filipino actually is kind of finding my roots. Has kind of helped me to kind of learn more about myself and my style. And so I think for me, it's not a hindrance. It's actually like, you know, a superpower.
I think for my career, I didn't focus on my race. I focused on my talent and what I can do. Doesn't matter if I was like from the Philippines and everything. It's like, for me, like as a fashion designer, it doesn't matter about the race. Like, either you have the talent or not. And either like you have that education or not. Because some people with they go to these Ivy League schools for fashion school, they still don't have talent. And I go to like, and some people that goes to like public colleges, they had so much talent. You know, like it really depends on your creativity level.
Say the same with Malia. Like I didn't look at my race, and I think it's like I've been here for like 5 years in Canada, so I'm still starting to immerse myself into the culture here in Canada. So I couldn't really say much yet, but I feel like the opportunities that I was exposed to made me feel like I'm accepted here. My theater exposure, even in my psychology education, like I feel like they didn't see me as just a Filipino. They see me as an individual who knows stuff, who is capable of learning psychology, who's capable of singing and making songs.
And look at you now. You're the main character of Ella Enchanted.
My mom asked me what's her race in the movie. Ella Enchanted is like played by a white person, but this one is a very diverse cast. And I love the people there because they really make you feel included. I wouldn't have experienced much racism because it's either I don't go out that much yet, or I just happen to fall into a population who respects me as a Filipino and everyone else.
If you can prove that you can do that work, you can do it. Doesn't matter about the race, doesn't matter the gender, sex.
Do you think there's enough representation of Filipinos in mainstream media? Or not even RC?
There's not a lot of representation out there for disabled Filipino artists, right? And talking about other intersectionality too that we all have here in the table, there's not enough of that, and it's so binary.
I think that it's not like a lack of representation. I think that a lot of Filipinos who immigrated to like North America,
they're not going to pursue acting.
they're not going to pursue acting. They're not going to pursue something. They're going to pursue something like nursing, doctors, something that's going to make them money and like something that they can bring back home. And that's why some people kind of regret their careers because they could be doctors, but they wanted to be artists, but they didn't have the chance because our parents are always structuring us to be this way, to be this. You have to be a doctor, you have to be a nurse, you have to be a lawyer.
There are like Filipino parents that would push you to do what you want. But it's also hard, like if you come from a family with no money, obviously you're gonna want to do a sure job, right? But if you come with a family like middle class to upper class, then yes, they can support you. You can also just push for it. You really have to push for it. It's not a career that's like easily handed to you, or it's not like, unless you have like generational wealth here, do what you want. I wish, sana all.
I mean, we are the second largest growing population here, but in terms of research that are done about us, there's like barely any. In comparison to like Chinese, Japanese, and all of these other East Asian.
Yeah, there's a lot of Filipino actors, but they don't play Filipino. Like they play other races. Because that's more familiar to mainstream. It's very rare to have like, you know.
I mean, you watch Grey's Anatomy, and like, there's not a single Filipino nurse.
So many nurses who's Filipino in North America.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Like half of Peter Lahid is like Filipino. Literally, like a lot of like the Filipino nurses here, they're like doctors back home, but then they were like
That's a good point that you point out. Is like our credentials from back home gets like put down once you
Yeah.
move here, right?
I think I'd say the same too. I graduated in psychology in the Philippines. I did a semester for master's in counseling.
Yeah.
No, in clinical psychology. And I was a board passer for the psychometrician's board exam. I graduated cum laude. And I thought that was gonna, thank you. I thought that was gonna help me,
Matter
like,
here.
at least,
Yeah.
like I thought that would matter because I worked hard and I didn't expect to be here in Canada in the first place. So when I arrived here, I learned that I have to